Well, hello, everybody. I'm Mark Tespadakis. Welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. Today, we are speaking to Anyah Nancy, and she is a singer-songwriter from the Pittsburgh area. She is part of the UniSound Black Teaching Artist in Residence. We're going to talk about what that is, talk about her career, talk about all of it on today's podcast. So I am delighted to invite Anyah in. How are you?
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. It's great to have you. Great to have you with us here. So, I always tell people that it's easier for them to tell us about themselves than me read from some bio or potentially miss the highlights. So, I just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself as I tell people, kind of essentially your elevator speech.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm Anyah Nancy. Depending on where I meet you, how I meet you, it could be Anyah Nancy, Anyah Jackson, but Anyah is who I am. I'm a singer-songwriter born and raised in Pittsburgh, PA. Besides my love for music, I am a slow life enthusiast. I am a coffee connoisseur. I'm an avid reader and a woman of faith. Um, yeah.
All right, so we'll dive more into some pieces of that as we go on here for sure. So I've actually had the pleasure of hearing you when you've performed before.
Mm,
Just an incredible talent, and
thank you.
as as soft spoken as you kind of come across when you are on that stage with that microphone, it is not soft spoken. It is very impressive.
Okay.
So we'll dive into that part later. Let's first start talking about the Black Teaching Artist in Residence program. So
Yeah.
you are part of this program that UniSound puts on in Pittsburgh. I guess tell us a little bit about the program, how you found it, what drew you to be part of it.
So, a good friend of mine, Inkanique Kinsel, actually, I was with her in Italy this time last year. And she was like, "Hey, Anya, like, there's this really cool opportunity happening in the city. You should apply. Like, just apply." And I looked it up, of course, and it said Black educators, and I was like, "Oh, well, I am that a Black teaching artist who also sings." And loves music and loves her community. And not only that, after I talked to Kendra Ross, Danelle Briggs, and Tanika Harris, I literally was like, wow, these, like, it's so cool to be reminded that there are Black women in Pittsburgh who are doing the work for education, for music and the arts, and for Black women, and just Black people in general. I think being a Black individual in Pittsburgh, sometimes it's easy to forget how seen we are. Um, but these three women have done a phenomenal job at creating a safe space that not only provides financial support for Black teaching artists, but um, heart support, mental support, family community support. Um, and it was just a no-brainer. After I talked to them, I was like, this is amazing. And it went beyond my expectations. Unfortunately, our time period has ended. It's been about a month, and I'm like low-key trying to figure out, like, can we extend this a little bit? But I mean, the community, once it's created, you can't just throw it to the side. We've created these relationships, and um, my BTR siblings, I like to call them, um, we still talk and keep in touch. And Omari, who's also part of the program, like, he's on my album that's coming out in the fall, and I just, it's just such a special thing. It's such a special thing.
Yeah, and so full disclosure, I'm on the steering committee for Unisound, and I have been on the steering committee since the inception of the BTAR program. And you've encapsulated it perfectly, because it is amazing how each class has their own unique character, and we've watched them bond in interesting ways, and the projects they have done also have just, they've all been so different but also fantastic.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your experience in it. Tell us what this was like being a BTAR.
It's been
So
absolutely amazing. I think when I first found out that this group of Black teaching artists were put together. I mean, Gloria, she plays the viola, and Omari plays the violin. They're classical musicians, and I'm a jazz vocalist. I just felt like I was like, this is such an odd um, community that's put together. I just felt like I didn't belong. But we went to the Sphinx conference a few months ago, and even then, the Sphinx conference is a conference for Black people in classical music. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go because I want to experience it, but like this isn't really for me. Like I don't really belong here. But I learned so much about what it means to be a Black musician. Like it actually doesn't matter if you're in classical music, R&B, hip hop, soul, jazz. Like Black people just have this intersection between each other that brings us all together. And I learned so much about what it means to be a professional Black musician or a professional Black music educator. And it just reminded me that I'm actually not as far fetched as I might think that I am. And it just I don't know. And also like hearing the stories from Gloria and Omari about their struggles or their triumphs. It just reminded me that like we can really do this. Like we are young Black people in music, making it a career, and we actually can do it. And together, it's actually even better.
Yeah. I'm curious for let's move into the education phase of this. I'm curious, like, so you grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
What was your music education like? What was that for you? I don't think I've ever known what it is.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I grew up in the church, and I grew up singing in the church. And the church that I grew up in actually had like an arts program. When I was 8 years old, I took vocal lessons for about 6 months. And I remember getting to my first recital, and that was the day I learned the word petrified because I
Mhm.
literally was so nervous to sing in front of people. Um, but from there, I kind of got into musical theater at my elementary school, and then I ended up applying for Kappa, which is the Pittsburgh Creative Arts high school and middle school actually here in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, I got I guess the most polite way to say it is a no from the vocal department twice. And then I applied for musical theater and I did get in, but unfortunately I wasn't able to stay in the department. So I ended up just being a straight theater major from my sophomore and the rest of my high school career. And in that, I learned about the Harlem Renaissance. And in that, I fell in love with jazz. And I really just decided that I don't need anybody's permission. I don't need anybody's acceptance letter or um, okay to be the artist that I believe that I am or that I want it to be. Um, and that's that. I mean, from there, I ended up doing professional developments with the Pittsburgh Public Schools and the Pittsburgh Children's Museum. And I would teach or work with teachers in showing them how jazz can be incorporated into their classrooms through freedom, through Black arts, through um, just through impromptu and improvisation in the classrooms. And then I got hired at the African American Music Institute on faculty as a youth vocal director or youth vocal instructor, I guess I should say.
Wow. Okay, I never knew that. So I'll editorialize slightly, and I just got to wonder if those folks who didn't put you into the vocal program are looking back now and saying, "What a mistake that
I don't
was."
really talk about it because it's no shade. You know what I mean? Like, there's no shade, there's no hard feelings. It did hurt my feelings. I'll be real. Like, it did. It hurt my feelings when I received those no's. But everything works out for the good. Like, God has me exactly where I'm supposed to be. So it's okay. Um, but I also think it goes to show why it's so important to have Black teaching artists because I think there was an issue of underrepresentation. And I just don't think I was necessarily what they were looking for because they didn't see it. So that's why like programs like this are so important because if we're not in the spaces how do you even know that you will belong there if you don't even see yourself there?
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating that then your trajectory went to, you kind of found jazz at that point,
Mm.
and that's where you're thriving
Yeah.
and doing so well. So I'm curious then, to talk to us about a little bit about this, the piece of being a teaching artist and doing the jazz piece. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious for what perspective then you're bringing to those students.
Mm.
Talking about your story, and particularly like coming with that jazz aspect. What's kind of the message, and how are you bringing that to students?
Well, the thing about jazz is that, well, there is a right and there's a wrong, but typically, like, if you're in the jazz space, nobody can tell you that you're doing it wrong. If you have all the right notes and you're in the right pitch and you're in the right key and you're doing it, then it's jazz. And I think that's something that I try to tell my students. Like, nobody can actually tell you that you're doing this wrong. The idea of jazz is to actually not think about it as much as you might like classical music or opera or soul and R&B or whatever. So I try to teach my students freedom. I think there's such a beauty when young kids who are interested in music discover that, wait, I actually don't have to think about this hard. I could just do it, and whatever comes out will come out, and I'll learn from it, and I'll try something new the next time. And I could literally sing gibberish um, and have fun with it. But I don't only teach jazz, I teach gospel. I teach my students love Beyonce. They love the pop they love the top 50 charts, and so there's ways to incorporate it. But something that I've learned that's really interesting, and these students like don't know who Ella Fitzgerald is, and they don't know who Nina Simone is or Sarah Vaughan. So it's an honor to be able to introduce those timeless vocalists to them, because I think if I didn't discover Nina Simone or Billie Holiday, I think I would have thought like the way that I naturally sing or tell stories or the music that I naturally love is like weird. But I think when you, again, like when you see something, when you see the person that you aspire to be, or you see something that has expanded your idea of what you can be, then things change. I think you can only be what you see. And if you don't see it, then it's really easy for you to put yourself in a box.
You talk about that as a message and what you show students, but I also think that's a message to music educators.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that they are picking up on that as maybe you're working with their students or in their classroom. Because when you're talking about the jazz part, I was thinking, okay, how many band directors do I know how to go into a band room and teach their band how to play the whole suites, but if they're told they have to do a jazz band, they are in fear from exactly what you're saying, that it's yeah, it isn't wrong. And that's intimidating to somebody who may have learned that, yes, it is wrong, this is what the score says.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself dealing with that with music educators as well, like having those conversations?
Not really. The African American Music Institute is heaven on earth. Like, I have been so blessed to be in a space where the things that I believe and the things that I'm interested in is encouraged. Um, I don't teach so much in schools, but I do teach at the African American Music Institute, and it's such a safe space for us to learn, discover, and also like teach our students that we're learning as well. Um, and we're open to learning from them. I learned so much from my students. Um, so I would imagine, yes, that if I was in like a public school institution, then I would feel that way. But fortunately, I don't feel that way at the African American Music Institute. Um, I think more than anything, I'm more challenged because they expect him to be more free. they,
Ah,
which is a challenge within itself, because even though I'm in a jazz space and have a jazz mentality, I think I'm still being challenged. Like, well, who said that was wrong? Like, why don't you just try it? Like, why don't you just challenge your students to do it this way? Or if I'm talking to Howie Alexander, he's a pianist, a genius on the keys. Like, you'd be like, well, why are you doing it that way? Let's do it this way. Let's just try it. And I'm like,
yeah.
well, I don't know. And it's like, well, like, why not? Just do it. Um, And I think that's the beauty of being able to work um, at a space like the African American Music Institute.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome, and there is a lesson in there for scholastic based music educators for sure.
Yeah.
So, tell us about some of the projects you're working on. You mentioned an album. I know you're out performing. Tell us what's going on with you. Besides the BTAR program's over, you have time to do all this other stuff now.
Which is so sad. Like I'm
Yeah.
devastated. But I'm working on an album. Well, it's done. I don't know if I've said that publicly yet, but the album is done. And I released it this fall. The album is called Sounds Like Honey. And it's my baby. I remember hearing people say like, this music is like my first child. I used to be like, they're so dramatic. But now that I've actually like spent time laboring over this project for the past 2 years and a half, um, this album is my first child. And I'm so, so excited to share. It's jazz, it's everything that I wanted it to be. Um, and yeah, it will be out very soon, very, very soon, actually.
That is awesome. Outperforming before it comes out.
Yes, yes. I have many gigs this week. I actually have a gig tonight. It's a private event, but always working. I'll be on this Saturday, which is the 9th of September. I think this podcast will already be out by then. I'll be at the Oaks Theater with Etta Cox.
Which like
Um, oh,
that if you're in Pittsburgh, I mean that you get chills when you hear it.
Oh, I love her. She's such a joy. I just love her. She produces a show every year called Ladies of Jazz. And this is my second year in a row participating in this show. And I'm just so proud to be a lady of jazz. So that's this Saturday at the Oaks Theater, September 9th, which it already had passed. So if you missed it, don't miss it next year. But then on Wednesday, what is that, September 13th? I'll be at the Pittsburgh City Winery with Scale, which is another program, incredible program for Black women in music here in Pittsburgh. I will be performing for their Feels Like Summer. Uh, I think they do shows quarterly, which is really exciting at the winery. So I'll be in that show with Leilani, who's also a wonderful soul and R&B vocalist here in the city.
Well, we certainly wish you continued success. It's nowhere but up from here for sure, especially with the album coming out. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank
Um, we're gonna miss you as a BTAR, but I'm sure we will still see you around. You'll still be part of it.
Let's rally. Let's rally to keep it going. Like we just
Okay.
need a few more months.
Okay. All right. We'll see what we can do. Anyah, thanks for taking some time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. We want to also thank our sponsor, the Grove City College Department of Music. We will see you next time.